Hello everybody! I told y'all I'd be right back, and of course I am. I am here, of course, talking about, as you can see below, Work It.
The Work It stage, it's huge. And no new team has ever won it.
This is our only chance.
You ready?
I don't know what drove me to actually sit there and watch this film. I just decided, it's like, fuck it. I wanted to watch something else since Sunday Funday was going to come out a little late. I was like, let's see what happens. Let me put forth a film review as well, beyond just what the other travesty I watched was. So I decided this. Partially decided, guys, it's a little shorter film. It's an hour and a half, or hour and 33 minutes. I want to start getting picky, but half that, some of that's credits, so who cares? So, what did I think of Work It? I don't know how to say this. I will say this is not my favorite film of all time. This is a grand tour de force. But I wouldn't say this is a bad flick. It's weird to say that because I literally just turned it on and I'm like, okay, well, this might be bad, but it might, be at least hilariously bad or anything like that. This is very much in the vein of what Netflix shoves out every week, it seems like. It is a new teenage comedy, sort of like coming of age film, I guess is the best way to put it. Netflix has almost got a monopoly on these sons of bitches nowadays. And they're usually bad. I haven't seen one that's been decent. Maybe this might change it though, because there's a lot actually that works for this film. Pun not fully intended. First off, the film stars a young girl. Her name is Quinn. To go on to this plot a little bit, she is, how's the best way to put it? She is the perfect student, except for she also kind of helps out her one friend named Jasmine, though they call her Jazz, because they do. And she helps her friend Jazz, who's a dancer, and Quinn kind of is a bit into dancing herself. She likes dancing. And a bit, though she's a little bit, not really stuck up, she just doesn't quite understand to get the beat in her soul, man. And it turns out that Quinn is wanting to get into Duke, and she is trying to get in there, even though she's got great grades and everything. The admission lady says, like, you're going to need more than just that. You're going to need to do something kind of, interesting. And she actually kind of says, like, oh, well, she's part of the dance team, but she actually legitimately cannot dance. And premise from there. Basically, she has to create her own dance team to try and beat the dance team of her school, the Thunderbirds, who are totally evils and stuff. It's hackneyed, it's been there, done that, and that's one of the issues that you can straight up say is like, you have seen this premise before. It's Bring It On in all essence. But where it does have some differences from Bring It On is the fact that, one, the character here has to actually learn how to dance. She is not a good dancer at all when the movie starts. So because of that, she has to learn a lot of different moves. She has to actually learn how to do anything. And she also ends up befriending a bunch of different weirdos, is the best way to put it. There is the Asian chick who's all about death and everything, and about being a bit of a goth and an emo. There is a straight up Indian girl who she teaches them kind of Indian dances. Okay. And when I mean Indian, I mean Indian. And don't think I'm being, terrible and calling Native Americans that. I'm not that big of an asshole. Not yet, anyway. Of course, there is the token black guy who I think has 2 lines in the movie. He is, they call him Mixtape because he makes mixtapes. That's his defining characteristic. Again, I don't remember him having lines. It's how kind of, ooh, okay, so we didn't give a black character much in the way of lines. Then you also have this one nerdy white guy who turns out he can actually dance, and also he can do flips and shit. And also they have to recruit this one guy who used to be part of, this dancing group way back when. Well, way back when's like been a few years, I guess. And he ended up stopped dancing because he tore his ACL and, injuries and shit like that. And movie progresses and they have to win the big dance competition thing. So, where there's problems, I have to talk about the negatives before I can talk about the positives. First off, yes, this premise, you've kind of heard this, you've probably seen this before. Two, the biggest problem I say with all the characters is not that they're bad. None of these characters are particularly bad. There's a lot of one-noteness. Beyond Jasmine, Quinn, and the lead guy, the choreographer who ends up helping them after a while, whose name is Jake Taylor, because I keep referring to him that way for a while. Beyond them, there's not a character arc for any of them. They simply just kind of exist. Oh, I totally even forgot. There is also a guy who is a Hispanic guy who's into soccer, who actually is not that good at soccer, but he can really dance. That is his contributing factor. One scene that's kind of chuckle-worthy. That's it. I thought the black kid got off bad. Yeah, it's showing that was starting to kind of bother me for a bit. But I see why we did actually pare down to just the few characters. One, this movie is an hour and a half long. And thank goodness. I don't need 3.5 fucking hours to get all these characters' backstories, especially whenever it's going to be kind of just there. Or be kind of generic. And that is one of the issues. Like I said, genericness kind of runs rampant throughout this movie at times. There is nothing particularly unique about this. Like, they of course have a dance-off competition in school and everybody sits around and watches like they're having a fight. And it's weird, is the best way to describe it. And then, of course, there is the fact that they have to do this dance competition at all, and never is it brought up with the fact that it's like, okay, well, what about, this girl's scholarship? How's she paying for it? 'Cause she even admits her mother has been working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. It's like, well, how do you plan to go to college? Are you just going to get all these scholarships? Because you ain't mentioned that shit, because going to Duke ain't free. Yeah, generic. The fact that the plot is a bit on the generic side, it's problematic at times. But the fact that we do have our focus mostly on just about 3 or so characters, it ends up working better in the movie's favor. Too much focus on superfluous characters, or a better way to put it, characters that ultimately would just push the runtime of the film, don't really add much to things. And that's the thing. This film, because it is an hour and a half long, so it's like it never feels like it's overstaying its welcome. It also has a chance to still get away with some decent choreography, some decent dancing. I think the message of, trying to follow your heart and, dance to the beat of your own drum, it is a simplistic one, and it is one that's been said before, but I don't think that's a bad message to say. Especially considering it's about trying to find out who you are, not worrying about what other people want to define you as. That's actually a positive message. And I would say the acting, for the most part, there's some obviously over the top. There is a quote-unquote bad guy. I won't say his name is Isaiah, though he's actually prefers to go by Juilliard because he wants to go to Juilliard. Gets turned down by Juilliard near the 2/3 mark. It's weird that they brought that up then. It's like, why not bring it up beforehand, and just show how absurd it is that he wants people to call him that. Also, why would anybody want to be called after college? But yeah, despite the fact that it is so generic, I don't know. Maybe it's just because some of the lead characters actually kind of endeared themselves to me. They actually seemed to be genuine as much as they were kind of generic, but it's like they still felt real to what they were supposed to be. I didn't feel like this was completely an act. I felt like there was some generic, feelings with these characters. And sure enough, the Lee Quinn ends up getting together with Jake. But it's more of a, it's a general thing that happens. It just happens slowly. It happens more, at a deliberate pace. And yes, there is the breakup thing that has to happen because it has to, because we can't be generic if we don't stay with the same fucking generic fucking plot lines. But, it is actually interesting to sit there and go through all of it and actually have, like I said, good dance moves. Actually fun dancing here and there. Although it is weird that at one point that they have to have this qualifying match where they end up winning partially because this guy doesn't have a dancer's belt on, and they only notice that because he has a boner. I guess that's the thing. And why he has a boner in the middle of dancing, I don't know. Ladies, it just doesn't just on its own allow some medicine or something. I don't know. I probably should have disliked this movie a lot more than I did. But one, it's so much shorter than A Kissing Booth 2. I cannot put that enough in words. It seems like I just am so happy about that. But be 40 minutes fucking shorter than the film that accomplished the same amount of subject matter in all essence is so much easier to sit through. But on top of that, I actually cared for the acting more, and I didn't think any of the actors were terrible in this. None of them were fantastic, but they were all good for what they were supposed to be doing. And I thoroughly enjoyed, that's actually cute. I like seeing Jake and Quinn getting together. I like seeing their dynamics together. I like the dance moves. I like some of the music. It's nothing I loved about the movie. But there was nothing I could grasp upon that was like, this is terrible, this is bad, blah, blah, blah. Nah, there was just, the biggest problem is just it's kind of meh at times. And I will take a whole lot of meh right now over all the bad I've been getting over the fucking months and months I've been cooped up. Well, I haven't been exactly cooped up. I am essential. Yeah, I don't know. Work It's not too bad. You're going to watch it and you're going to not remember it after a few weeks, but I don't think you're going to have a bad time watching it. There are certainly worse ways to waste your time. Trust me. I've dated it before. But I don't think you're going to walk away from this thinking like, oh, this was such a, change my life kind of film or anything like that. But this is the kind of movie that pretty much is going to allow Netflix to be able to put another one of these out next week. There is nothing egregiously terrible about it. There is some good, but there's a whole lot of plain. It is like a mayonnaise sandwich with a little bit of sriracha in the middle. It's got that little bit of bite. Ooh, look, a little something different. Something different, but nothing but mayonnaise afterwards. I guess I need to give this a score. this may seem high because the mayonnaise sandwich thing seemed kind of mean. I give it a 6. There is a lot that has very been there, done that, seen that 528 times. But there is still some heart to it. I still cared enough about the characters to want to see what happened with them. I didn't find any of them annoying. I actually cared about the characters. I thought the writing was, for the most part, decent. And that's the worst I can say about it. This is a decent film. It could have been better, don't get me wrong. It could have done with a little bit more punching up, a little bit staying away from stereotypes. And honestly, if it gave me about maybe 5 for 10 minutes more with the other characters, I might have gave a little bit more shits about some of them. But for what it is, it's fine. It's a perfectly serviceable film. You will throw it on, watch it, be happy, like, it's not another turd, and you will forget it the next day. But you'll be like, I remember watching the movie, I didn't hate it. Is what you're going to think if you do like me and think about the movies you've watched at the end of the year. But hey, that's work it for you. Let me know what you think about it, if it worked for you. And, comment below, let me know. But until then, I will see you all there. So, bye-bye, everybody.